Perfect. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for coming to the Incubator Certification Support Grant webinar. Take a couple minutes to just see if anyone continues to trickle in. But as you're coming in, if you can please make sure to mute yourself and then hang tight as we will soon start the webinar. Yeah, seems like some people are still trickling in. I think now is probably a good time to start. But thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. My name is Tina Amari and I'm the Entrepreneurship Coordinator for the Technology Innovation Office. We're joined today by Marija Cruz, our Business Operations Analyst, and Lindsay Humphreys, our Associate Director. Thank you for joining us today. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded to our website. And so to set the agenda for today, we're going to do a quick presentation about the grant for the first 15 minutes as people trickle in. If you can make sure to mute yourselves, the rest of the time will be yours to ask questions. And we do request that you hold your questions till after the presentation, but feel free to put your questions in the chat or raise your hand during that time, and we'll do our best to get to you in order. This grant is given by the Technology Innovation Office. We are here to connect New Mexico's innovation infrastructure to the commercial market. And we do this by encouraging and enabling the startups, growth and relocation of science and technology-based industries in and to New Mexico. And we also do this by growing and diversifying existing tech companies and supporting emerging and rapidly commercializing technologies here. About this grant specifically, so the New Mexico Incubator Certification Support Grant is a competitive, non-reoccurring state-funded grant designed to support non-certified incubators that are seeking certification as New Mexico certified business incubators. Applicants may request any amount up to $150,000, but should only request what is needed to successfully complete the proposed work. And our program goals are to expand the number of certified incubators statewide. We're looking to strengthen rural incubators and their services, support operation and facility improvements, and help cover the costs of required feasibility studies. And I do also want to specifically mention that these awards are not restricted to the Technology and Innovation Office priority sectors, so it is broad. What is an incubator? So an incubator is a business support facility with structured processes that accelerate the successful development of startups and businesses by providing business owners with targeted resources and services, curriculum, things like that. And the primary goals are to produce graduates, create jobs, revitalize neighborhoods, commercialize new technologies, and strengthen state and local economies. Someone says there's severe echo, so please let me know if everything sounds okay. Yeah, okay. Continuing on to funding eligibility. So the use of the funds may not be used for alcohol, food, or drugs. No more than 25% of the total funds awarded may be used for payroll expenses with a cap of $50,000 regardless of funding amount awarded. And I do want to specifically mention here that any payroll and all associated costs must be specifically tied back to the specific certification requirements that it will support. And so I want people to make sure to pay attention to that segment right there. And so example funding uses can be the feasibility study, infrastructure upgrades or improvements, or other certification requirements. So general eligibility, you must be a current incubator within the state of New Mexico, have a New Mexico BTIN number, that's a former CRS number, and then to provide a letter of good standing or similar documentation via the New Mexico Tax and Revenue Access Point. Certify that you do not have any overdue tax debt or lawsuits and must agree to all reporting and clawback requirements. And also want to mention here that previous awardees are not eligible to apply, and this is for non-certified incubators. The application portal is new this time, so it'll be via submittable. And what you'll be evaluated on is your incubator background and mission statement, project overview and meeting certification requirements, your organizational experience, implementation plan, the budget summary, your W-9 and tax forms, and then there's going to be room to submit supporting documents such as quotes, brochures potentially, and things like that. And this is the submittable portal. So you're going to go through the EDD website, go to submittable. You'll see that this is the New Mexico Incubator Certification Support Grant. You're a little bit further down, it's going to be an apply button. Once you apply, you're going to be prompted to sign up. It's encouraged for your display name to be the legal organization name, but if you already have a submittable account, that's totally fine. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click your name up in this top right corner to access your submissions for account access. And then if you have any questions, this question mark button here will help you with technical help, and you'll be able to see your drafts and when you submit your application. So going back to the grant itself, if you are awarded, all work must be completed within 12 months of grant agreement execution, and that means signed by all parties. 100% of the funding will be dispersed upon the start of the award. So that means you're also going to have quarterly progress and expense reports to make sure everything's going on track. And a final report will be required within 13 months of grant agreement execution. And as you're working through this grant cycle, the awardees are expected to retain records of all expenses related to your grant expenditures, and you'll be required to submit receipts upon our request. And the state of New Mexico will issue a 1099 tax form to all awardees of state grants, including this one, the Incubator Certification Support Grant. So applications will be accepted through April 2nd of this year at 5 p.m. This is a very firm deadline. There will be no exceptions made, so please make sure to submit by that deadline. And if you have any questions, get to me beforehand. The webinar is today. Applications will be evaluated and awards will be made dependent on application evaluation scoring and funding availability. And your project must be completed within 12 months, a final report submitted within 13 months. And then our last slide, this is my contact information. It's my email and phone number. So please feel free to ask me any questions along the way. And then right now we have time for questions as well. I'll open up my screen to be able to view. Okay, it seems Ravina, you have your hand up.
Hi, thanks, Marianne. Yes, so I just wanted to get an idea of what qualifies somebody to be an incubator. You said incubators, you have to already be an incubator, but not a non-certified incubator. So I just wanted some clarification. And then does that have to be something that has a facility, I guess a facility attached to it, or can you have partner locations that you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. So I'm going to go back to that beginning slide to just walk through how we define what an incubator is. So it's a business support facility that will incubate your businesses. So going through an application process, you provide curriculum, and then there's a graduation process as well. And then sorry to go back on these slides. I'm gonna just also show the certification criteria that's displayed right now. And so the facility is required for certification. Um,
Okay.
Sorry, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, so a facility is required. You have to have a space that you're leasing. Because so our program provides all the others except for we don't have like a specific location.
Yeah, a physical location is required,
Okay.
to provide like conference rooms, just someplace where they can physically be located.
Thank you.
And one more clarification question or statement to your question is, so we currently have 9 certified business incubators for the state of New Mexico. And so those are the incubators that are not eligible to apply.
I'm going to the chat. Someone asked, can you please elaborate on what a current incubator in New Mexico means? I think we were able to answer that question with what was asked. And then what is the total capital available for funding under this program and grant cycle? Unfortunately, that's a number that we cannot disclose at this time. Back. S. Lewis, you have your hand raised.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Hello. I was wondering what types of entities are eligible.
So in types of entities, do you mean like nonprofit, for-profit?
Correct. We have a nonprofit. It's out of California. But I have a S Corp here. So I'm not sure what types of entities would be eligible. All entities, individuals,
Yeah.
incorporated entities.
We have it as any entity, as long as they're here within New Mexico with an FBIN number and CRS number registered to the state, are eligible to apply.
Thank you.
Now back to the chat. Does a commercial kitchen qualify? We incubate businesses for their permitting, licensing, etc. Yes, a commercial kitchen does qualify. The next question, what kind of documentation needs to be provided to demonstrate that we already have a non-certified incubator program? That will be through the submittable application. Let me go to the slide. You're going to be able to talk about your incubator background and your mission statement, what you're looking to do with these funds in terms of meeting the certification requirements. So through the application specifically, then you'll be able to upload documents, maybe brochures, photos, to kind of prove to us that you have a current non-certified incubator program. And we'll go back to here. So I see Nolan, you had your hand raised. Okay, we'll come back to Nolan.
Sorry,
Mary-
y'all. Sorry, y'all. I was trying to get off mute.
You're
My
fine.
apologies. I'm like driving, of course. Yeah, I had a quick question. So if we have a rental agreement with someone for their private property to incubate businesses, is there a length of time that is required? You know, like, oh, you're gonna do this for 3 years or something like that. Is there anything like that?
For our grant specifically, I want to say no, but Lindsay, do you have any guidance on that?
Can you repeat the question or restate it for me? I'm misunderstanding it.
Sure. So we've run an incubator in the past. I mean, we called it an accelerator, but it was a business incubator. And we had an agreement with a private property owner for 1 year to run it. We are currently in discussions with a different private property owner to possibly run a maybe 3 year program where we would incubate different businesses on an annual basis, right? Um, but I don't know if the private property owner is going to be willing to give us more than 3 years of an agreement. And so is there a minimum? Does it need to be does it need to be owned by our nonprofit in order to qualify, or is there a minimum requirement of agreement? We will run an incubator out of here for so many years in order to qualify.
That's a very specific question, and we might have to have a little bit more clarification offline. But I would say that based on the requirements that are related to this funding, if you go back, Tina, to these funds, every single penny of these funds have to come back to you trying to become a certified incubator. And so every dollar is going to be associated with one of those. It was further in the slides, Tina. So upgrading your facility, getting a feasibility study, every dollar that is going to be allocated has to be directly tied to one of those statutory requirements.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, Mary Beth.
Thank you. I just had two quick questions. One is, I mean, it kind of sounded like that with the commercial kitchen, but in the beginning, you guys said that you're science and tech focused. Do agribusinesses, like beginner farmer training programs, would that be supported by this grant? And then my other question is, our business is technically registered and incorporated with the Navajo Nation. We do have a tax ID with the state, but I'm just wondering maybe if there's other people on the call that are tribal businesses operating within the state of New Mexico, and do those qualify?
Yes, okay, so good question. So if your first one, you're wondering if community kitchen and agricultural based businesses do qualify, and yes. Although we are under the Technology Innovation Office, this grant specifically can fall outside of our core tech sectors. So the commercial kitchen and ag related, as long as they're incubators and you can make your case onto why it qualifies, they can accept them within our grant application. So that's a yes there. And then under the tribal, if businesses can be accepted with those criteria that you mentioned. I'm gonna actually ask Lindsay once again on that.
Sorry, say it one more time.
So basically, our business is domestically incorporated with the Navajo Nation. We have a tax ID with New Mexico if and when we do sales in New Mexico. We do have a tax ID number, but the certificate of good standing and incorporation documents would be for the tribal nation itself. So I'm just wondering what that looks like, and maybe other folks on the call have a similar situation.
So you have the ability, you have the BTIN, and then but the letter of good standing you wouldn't be able to obtain, is what you're saying?
That would most likely come from the Navajo Nation itself. I'm just wondering for us, but also for other people, if they're located on Pueblo land or on Navajo land, but they're still operating within the state of New Mexico, if that would still, if our business would qualify.
You have to be a current incubator in New Mexico for this grant.
Okay, so we'll keep it vague like that, and even if it is technically on tribal federal land and we're still within the state parameters, then.
And it sounds like you have the things in order to do business in New Mexico.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Go back to the chat. So someone asked, we are economic development nonprofit with entrepreneurial programs to serve small businesses, start and grow. Does that count as a current incubator? We serve New Mexico statewide. Going back to the slide that we provided, also the information within the manual, that an incubator is a support facility with structured processes that accelerate the successful development of startups. So as long as there is a process of application to get into the program, curriculum, and then the graduation process, And then aligning with the certification requirements. That is how we count a current incubator. The next question is, how do you define being an existing incubator? Again, going back to how we define it in our manual and on this presentation, and then we have guidelines as well for the certification requirements, see what we're looking for, and then you'll have the chance within the submittable application online to be able to talk about your mission statement, your team, et cetera, and provide supporting documents as well. And someone asked, confirming from Rubina's question, an existing incubator should already be taking applications from businesses to receive incubation services, going through a graduation process, etc. So yes, an existing incubator should already be taking applications from businesses. So currently running right now. Okay, coming back. The kitchen table Santa Fe, and I know you were just at your table, so I apologize if you just stepped away. Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that I am here. The question still stands, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yes, what is your question?
Oh, sorry, she had typed it in here. I'm just her assistant. I think.
I think we may have addressed it then.
Okay, so it was kind of related to once you are certified as an incubator, what does that sort of further allow as a business outside of just the funding from the grant itself? Like, is there extra, what does it mean once you become certified through this process? How does that benefit us as an incubator?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So if you decide to go down the certification process and become certified, you'll have a wider access to entrepreneurial support organizations across the nation as well through an INBA membership. Also, we'll have access to a lot of other businesses within New Mexico, understanding that they can come to you, and that shows that you're certified to provide new, more official resources to them as well. So I'd say it certifies you to show to others that people can come to you, and also you'll have a wider access and network to other incubators within the state and then nationally.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. The next question, we're going to go with Jason Gonzalez.
Hello. This may have already been answered, and I may have misunderstood the slide I saw it on. And it is in regards to that INBIA membership that you need to be a current member. See, what we don't officially call ourselves an incubator, but my job description is rural economic development, and I help farmers, become licensed and create farm stands and help people actually become business owners. But we don't currently have a formal graduation process, and also that INBIA question. I know you mentioned answering the previous question that you have access to that, but I could have swore I saw a slide saying you needed to already have that to apply. Am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, so a really good question. I'm going to go back to that slide. It was a supplemental slide that I provided. When you go through the application, you'll see these are the certification requirements to become certified, not specifically tied to this grant application. You will have to go through and tell us what you currently have and what you're seeking to get, and all dollars that you're going to request must be tied to what you are looking for through these certification criteria. So you mentioned not having the INBA membership. That can be something that you put on your budget and tie it back specifically to how it's going to support your incubator. And then similar for the graduation policies, you might have a lot of things on this list, but if you don't have that, that's totally fine. That's the purpose of this grant, is to help you work towards these certification criteria requirements.
Okay, awesome. So I misunderstood part of it, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. I'm sure other people have similar questions as well. Back to the chat. Does incubator have to be an exclusive offering, i.e. an organization just doing incubation? We are a youth serving nonprofit that does many things, including help students grow businesses. And so sorry, I feel like I sound like a broken record here, but tying back to the incubator, as long as the business support organization that has a process of applications, you provide curriculum and are then having a graduation process and can align with the certification criteria and tie every dollar back to that. That's how we are looking at current incubators. How many incubators will you be granting funds to? We wish we could grant funds to as many people as possible, but unfortunately that's an undisclosed number. Next question regarding the physical space requirement, does that include individual office spaces for participating businesses or would shared classroom space qualify? That's a good question. So physical space, it can include individual offices, shared locations, as long as it's a facility that is available to your tenants. I'll leave it at that. Does a business co-working space qualify as a facility? Good question there. As long as it provides a space to your tenants for co-working, conference room, things that enhance their businesses, I would say that's part of the facility. Okay, I'm coming back to the screen. I still see the kitchen table. Santa Fe still has your hand. If you still have a question? No? Okay. Perfect. Next
And
person.
just to really quickly address the echo, I apologize. I don't think anyone else is hearing that. So you might want to exit out and come back in.
Person, I think it's S. Lewis.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of questions. One, what's your governing document or documents?
Yes, so the governing documents are, you mean the governing board list or?
The legislation, the whatever governing documents that you're using or your board is using to make the rules, the criteria, the reporting period, all of your governing documents.
So all of that
And
is
where they
going
can
to
be
be
found.
in the grant manual. These dollars were allocated from a special appropriation. And so the special appropriation is listed in the state statute there in the grant manual.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up. I'm sorry.
It's in the grant manual that was provided
Oh, okay,
at the
thank you.
beginning
And then-
of the, which is on the website. There's the statute for the certified incubation program. And these funds were from a special appropriation. And so they're tied directly to incubation efforts in New Mexico.
And then are like collaborative or co-applications accepted or any fiscal sponsorship allowed?
I know that we sound like a broken record, so everything has to come back to these certification criteria. Your budget has to, every dollar that is going to be requested needs to come back to you seeking potential certification as a certified incubator in New Mexico. And so everything would be tied back to one of those 10 items that's listed on the slide right there.
Understood. Can it be more than one applicant per application is the question.
So are you saying like if you are a corporation and you have an incubator under your corporation?
So no, so there's a few things that I was thinking. We do grant writing, compliance, administration, and oftentimes we're doing it in collaboration with another partner. So oftentimes I'm writing grants as a co-applicant to provide services. We own an LMS system, and so we use that LMS system often. We do a digital literacy. I have an office space, but I do not have a space for clients. So oftentimes my partner, I will use their space and we often help their clients. So if an application is submitted, can it be co-applicants or is it just one applicant per application?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, I think that that would be more of outsourcing outside of your incubator, and these funds would be to be more housed within your incubator for the tenants that you're providing services to. But we can talk more offline about the specifics if you'd like to have a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Going to the next person on the screen is Grow Raton.
Sorry, Ron Diamond?
We can go with
No,
you. I
I'm
think
next.
Grover Tone is having a hard time unmuting potentially. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, just real quick. I understand the selection criteria include enabling startups growth, rapidly getting them to revenue, helping with job creation, especially in the tech sector, but not only the tech sector, structured processes and infrastructure. Do you have any insight on weighting of those criteria for your selection?
Like how they will be evaluated?
Yes, exactly.
Everything will be, sorry, but everything will be tied back to those requirements that are there. Those are going to be the weighted things that are going to be there. There would be a small weight, I think we mentioned, for rural communities. But there's not going to be different weights per question within the application.
Got it. Thank you.
Come back to Grow Raton.
Yes, hi, I'm sorry. I'm all new to this. I'm the president of Grow Return. This is a new platform for me to work with. So we currently have a much bigger program in the works at the moment with a commercial kitchen, which is being utilized or is intended to be utilized as part of the incubator programs. We formerly had a program on Grow Return, which was more an entrepreneurial system, which is basically, I guess, an incubator program, which hasn't been in effect for a little bit, but since I've taken over this, we're going to jumpstart that whole program as well. We are, as I mentioned, we've got a much bigger platform in mind, so we will have an executive director that her salary is, let's say she's wearing many hats. How do we differentiate between what is the salary for the incubator program with her versus the rest of her salary, which may be involved in the community or the commercial kitchen format?
Right, that's a really good question. The way you differentiate that and prove to us is going to be tied back to the certification criteria. Is if whatever she's doing for her daily job, whatever she's doing to work towards the certification program, that can be used for her payroll. So if she's going out about in the community, that's different. But if she was, taking photos of a facility or drafting up the program evaluation criteria, that can be used. It all has to be tied back specifically to how you're going to use these funds for the certification criteria.
Okay. As I mentioned before about being an incubator program, as I mentioned, we had an entrepreneurial program, which is the same thing, basically. How do we, or how quickly, or what other certification or requirements have to be met for us to be classified as an incubator, and can we get that stuff all done prior to the deadline for this incubator grant program.
Okay, so you're asking for the entrepreneurial programming, if that can be qualified as an incubator for this grant program?
That's correct.
Okay, so this grant is intended for facilities, businesses, incubators that are currently up and running. I will say, going back to how we evaluate what an incubator is if you have the current infrastructure to be able to admit tenants, provide curriculum, and then have a graduation process.
Okay. Yeah, just the same as the other gentleman who mentioned that his programs were an accelerator program, not classified as an incubator program. So I guess it's all just terminology.
And I would say that, this is, we're doing our best to understand in a short amount of time. We're welcome to have conversations in a deeper, we can have an intake call with you to explain or to talk a little bit deeper about your specific proposal. But it is also, you're going to be telling us about your incubation services in your application. And so that's where
Okay.
you're going to be telling us about your organizational experience. That's part of the application process.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sonia?
So I just heard that this is for like a program that's already in place. So do you have anything where we would be able to like, I guess apply to be able to start an incubation program through our agency?
Not with these current funds. If every dollar is being allocated to the certification criteria, if you are doing programming and you're working on things that are within this selection criteria and you're telling that story, that's what we want to see in this application process.
Yes. Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it doesn't seem to be more hands raised. I'm gonna go back to the chat. How long of a history do you have to be considered an incubator? And if you only run incubation programs periodically, does that qualify? So going back to the previous question that was also answered, we would like to see a history for you to be considered an incubator. If you look on the slides right now, you can go back to pre-2005. So that's, any time between now and however long you've been established for. And if you run periodic programs periodically, does that qualify? I would say when you do your application, explain to us how and how often, and the overall impact that you're planning to make. I don't want to say like a specific yes or no, on that. I guess.
And then just really bringing it back is like, these are not necessarily just general funds for incubation. These are funds allocated to work towards certification. And so your proposals coming in are going to be very much tied to the certification criteria. I just want to be very clear with that these are not just dollars for incubators. These are dollars to work towards certification because they're in statute tied directly to these funds are allocated to that. And so it's going to really come back every time on the application that it's getting tied back to every single thing coming back to the certification requirements.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, and that is a great emphasis. We do really want to push that every dollar is tied to the certification requirements. The next question is, we have a lease, but today our clients request Zoom meetings and come from all over the state. So is it okay for not all clients to come to the location? Typically, that's what we've seen with a lot of incubators as well. They're able to provide resources to other businesses within their community, and I think that's great. But again, these dollars must be tied specifically to the certification requirements. So if it's related to, like the facility, XYZ, as long as you can tie it back to your certification requirements, how do you plan to do that? The next question was answered. Will you be sharing the presentation recording? Yes, it will be listed on our website. We'd like to confirm what I'm hearing. If we don't have a current application, curriculum, graduation process, we cannot use these funds to develop those functions and get certified. So no, to confirm, whatever you currently have, you can use those funds to get things that you don't have. So you can use these grant funds to develop those functions and get certified. So,
Based on number 8 that you're seeing on this page.
yes. Question, do you have any recommendations for funding for an organization that doesn't meet the current definition but is interested in becoming an incubator? Unfortunately, these funds are tied to specifically for current incubators, you going down the process of becoming certified. Are there any recommended contractors for feasibility studies? Ooh, that's a really good question. Right now, we don't have any contractors that we can recommend, but if you follow up with us, I'm sure we can help you find some and maybe contact the previous incubators that have gotten feasibility studies. If facilities have already been running as an informal incubator, what is the purpose or the value add of the feasibility study? So the feasibility study really gives you an overview as to what the needs of your community are. So like, let's say you're harnessing, we're supporting kitchen development, food resources, XYZ, but you have a lot of potential to help farming. Really seeing like what the needs are and how can you adjust to meet those needs within your community and provide the best support. Basically, it's to help grow your incubator and more along the lines of like market research. To echo Phil's question, what certifications are required for the application? That's from Lauren. Could you provide a little bit more context there?
Yes, hi. So he was asking within the context of his business, and I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, but Grow Ratone, and it was just to see if there were any specific certifications that need to be in place before applying for this grant.
Yeah, no specific hardcore certifications are tied to this manual, but if you are an incubator, you do provide an incubation process, application, the curriculum, and then the criteria to lead to a graduation. That's how we're defining the incubator application process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So we don't have a current thing that you need to provide us, but you will have to tell your story in the application as part of the review process.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Next person, could you please provide information on the resources and benefits that would be available to certified incubators? Yes. So again, going back to once you become a certified incubator, it proves to your local community that you are established to provide resources. So on one hand, it really helps prove to the local community that they can come to you and get resources, curriculum, be of assistance to them. And then it also gives you a wider stance with the INBIA membership to engage with other incubators within your state and nationally. So it really just gives you that stamp of approval that you're doing a good job and then you can continue to grow. The next question, is there a certain direction or area of the state that EDD is wanting this work to be focused, rural, urban, does that not matter? So it is open to every organization within the state. We do have an emphasis on rural. It's not required, but it is encouraged. And then the way rural will receive a weighted score is we're defining it as any part of the state other than Los Alamos County, Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Farmington, Las Cruces, Roswell, Santa Fe, and within a 10-mile radius around those cities. And that's also listed in the manual if I went a little bit too quickly there.
And Tina, you moved your thing over, so we can't see the side slide. There you go.
The next question, a current incubator So I'm a bit confused now. A current incubator, as required to apply for the grants, was have the application curriculum graduation process in place already, but the funds can be used to develop those processes if they already don't exist. Okay, so really good question. And I do want to make it clear that these certification requirements that are on the screen right now, they are not all required to have currently. These funds are used to help you get these funds, to get these certification criteria specifically. So you don't have to have them, you're using these funds to work towards getting them. And I hope I was able to answer that.
And then to double down on that and what we've said so far is in the application, you will have to tell us your incubation experience, your experience as an organization. That will be part of the application process. But going back to every dollar that is being allocated is tied to statute to work towards certification.
Okay, Rubina.
I'm so sorry, I forgot my question. Hold on, what was it? It was tied to a question that was already here. Once we become certified, does it make us eligible for state funding that is currently available for incubators to run their incubation programs?
Currently, we do not have, so there was a special appropriation that was given out to support incubation. This is the tail end of those funds. So that's why we're building a pipeline. So currently, there is not additional funds outside of the technology sectors that support incubation services. So the benefits for you all would be more of exactly what Tina mapped out. But that's not to say in the future, we can't speak
Can be
to future
available.
legislative sessions. But that's where this money currently stands.
But certification could get you more prepared to receive that type of funding when it's available.
I can't speak to the future of that, no.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, next person is Rebecca.
Hi, I just wanted to go back to, I'm sorry, this question about the current incubator and what the funds are used for, because I feel like you've said several times that a current incubator is an organization that has the physical facility and is carrying out this application curriculum and like graduation process already to be growing businesses. So does an organization need to have those processes already in place to apply in the first place? If they have a building and they've got a program, but maybe they don't have like the defined processes in place, do they count as a current incubator?
Yes, really good question, and I'm glad you're asking it just so we can clarify for everyone. So the key word that you said there was define. So you might already have these kind of processes in place to vet, screening, selection, graduation, but maybe it's not defined in the way of having specific policies in place, the papers, the documentation, XYZ. These funds will then help you put a more formal process in place.
Okay, yeah, I think that's where the confusion was because I was like, how do you have to have the processes, but then you can also develop the processes. But yes, it makes sense if you're already doing the work, but you need to define the processes and whatnot. So thank you so much for answering that question for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The next
Did
question.
we catch Jason's question in there about the rural? I might have just missed it. Okay, great.
Okay, perfect. We have another question on rural. So an incubator is not located in a rural area, but mostly serving rural clients be considered rural applicants? I'm gonna pass that to Lindsay. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we would need to have a bigger conversation with you of what you're saying there, but a rural incubator will receive a weighted score. In my head, without having more context, a rural incubator is where your address is. But we would need to have a bigger conversation.
Perfect. So there doesn't seem to be any more questions in the chat. Rebecca, your hand is still raised, so I'm not sure if you still have another question. But if not, we have a couple minutes left. So if anyone would like to ask anything, please feel free. And then do want to emphasize what we've been saying today, that any payroll, all associated costs must be tied directly to the specific certification requirements that it will support. That is a goal of our grant right now. So, and if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I'll just wait on for the next 8 minutes till the hour, but I'll go back to my contact information. Please feel free to email and or text or call me. And the grant application closes in April, so please keep us posted if you have any questions.
I do really quickly just want to add one more clarification there before Jason. So Tina said this earlier, you do not have to have all of these items, or even by the end of the grant period, have all of these items. These items are to help you get to the process of that. So every dollar has to be tied to those things, but maybe you don't need to do all of those things at one time. You are working towards those things, and in your grant application, you will be telling us what you need and how you're going to be using those to do those things.
Perfect, Jason.
Yes, so I know that we're asking kind of the same questions a little somewhat over and over, but so this has nothing to do with the carrying out of incubation work. This has these funds have everything to do with becoming an official incubator, or the tools to become a better incubator, but it has nothing to do with payroll or anything else actually carrying out actual incubation work.
Correct. Yes, this is not for programming or support the incubator in those ways that you just mentioned. It's mostly to become certified. So like, let's say you already have everything in the application. Every dollar has to be tied to how are you going to enhance what you currently have to become certified. So you're exactly hit it on the head there. The goal is to work towards certification.
What about supplies, etc., to be a better incubator, or it's specifically to become certified? It has nothing to do with any, like what, for example, whiteboards, projectors, little things like that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that to me would be classified under facility improvement. So if it is enhancing the outcomes for your current clients or tenants, but at the end of the day, everything that you ask for has to be justified back to the certification criteria. And so that can probably qualify under the facility upgrades and improvements to make sure you're providing what you can best to your tenants.
Thank you.
Okay, next person, that's Lewis.
Me again. Lindsay, may I have your email address? And Lindsay and Tina, I will email you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Great. Well, does this mean there's no more questions? I'll still be on the call for the next 4 minutes. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. You did a great job.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, I guess if it doesn't seem like anyone has any more questions, I might just end the call early. But thank you so much, and please feel free to reach out to me if anyone has any further questions. Bye, everyone.